This week on World Stories. Taking on the big companies, palm oil farmers in Africa. Exploitation, child refugees in Istanbul. But we begin in Russia. Although no longer competing in next year's Winter Olympics, Russia is still gearing up to host the Football World Cup. DW's Emily Sherman gauged the mood of the fans.
It's -7 degrees Celsius in Moscow, but that doesn't stop the amateur football team Alabusheva. They play at least once a week, no matter what the weather. Alexander Murayhin has been playing with the team for 2 years. He's a school sports teacher, but on and off the pitch, soccer has always been his passion.
Here in Russia, football is the game of the people. You have to pass, strike, shoot beautiful goals. We may not be at the World Cup, but we definitely try to play an elegant game.
Over 700,000 tickets to the World Cup in Russia have already been sold. So far, about half of them have gone to the country's own fans, including Alexander. There are reminders of the upcoming event dotted across Moscow, even a countdown to the kickoff. And the majority of Russians feel positive about hosting the World Cup this coming year.
It's a good thing, of course. A lot of tourists, a lot of guests will come. We're always happy to have guests.
But Alexander and his teammates won't be needing any encouragement when it comes to the soccer spirit. Today they're watching a game at a teammate's local bar. The Russian national team currently is the lowest ranked of all the World Cup participants. But no matter who wins, fans like Alexander can still enjoy a month of the beautiful game.
From cookies to biodiesel, palm oil is everywhere. But it has a bad environmental reputation. Now farmers in Sierra Leone are trying to do things differently.
This is what palm oil production mostly looks like in Sierra Leone. International companies grow large monocultures on deforested areas using lots of chemicals in the process. It's terrible for the environment. But palm oil can also be produced in less harmful ways. Sori Sese runs a small family farm. The oil palms bear fruit for 25 years. But they can't be harvested until 3 or 4 years after planting, so it's a long-term investment.
I decided to go into oil palm production 9 years ago. This will be my pension. We can harvest it until I die.
His family is large, and they can harvest the fruit all year round. What they've garnered here earns them around 10 euros. And the parts of the plants that can't be turned into oil are used to make natural fertilizer. These oil palms are organically grown out of necessity.
I don't use chemicals, and besides, I don't even have money to buy any. So we rely purely on our own traditional methods.
Alongside the palms, he grows pineapples and cashews. They not only provide food for his family, the crop diversity is also better for the soil. Today, Sori Sese has a visitor. It's Mohamed Kamara from the Dutch palm oil company Natural Habitats. The group produces its own organic palm oil fruits, but also buys from the farmers.
Embarking on their plantation in a form of developing them so that you support also your meal, it's really, really advantageous. How long does it take you to grow a plantation and then start processing? So we decided to go straight to the farmers who already have plantations and then assist them, develop their skills. Ultimately, they increase their yield.
The company's oil mill is close by. Oil palms are high yield, giving 4 times as much oil as sunflowers per hectare. That makes it cheap and widely consumed. Almost every other product in supermarkets, from cookies to face creams, contains palm oil. Most of the raw oil pressed here is exported, but the amount is just a fraction of that produced by large companies. Can the organic palm oil compete?
We can definitely compete with them. The reason being we have complete different form of production. We are organic, they are conventional. And being organic gives you a premium in the market.
1,400 farmers like Sori Sese are part of the Natural Habitat's network of certified organic growers. Their number is set to rise as the world's hunger for palm oil continues to climb.
Children as young as 6 have to work in factories in Turkey, where they and their families have fled the war in Syria. Child labor is illegal and the kids work long hours, but their families depend on it.
The rattling noise of sawing machines has become the soundtrack of Aras's childhood. She works 12 hours a day, Monday to Friday, in this clothing workshop in Istanbul. The women here are sewing underwear, and Aras has to make sure they never run out of fabric. She earns about 50 cents an hour.
Of course I'd rather go to school, but it's just not possible. We have to pay a lot of rent, and food, the water bill, everything is expensive. That's why I need to work and help my family.
Aras is 11 years old and not the only child in this workshop. Musa has been working here for 2 years. Like Aras, he is from Syria. Khalil from Damascus is 13. He is the oldest among the kids. The youngest here is only 6 years old. The Turkish owner lets us film, but only because we promised we would not show him in our report. Child labor is illegal in Turkey. The owner knows this, but says the families would be much worse off without the work. Many other children are sent out by their parents to beg on the streets. They can be seen everywhere in Istanbul. Aras has finished work for today. She takes me home with her to meet her family. She has 2 little sisters. Her mother is pregnant and had to stop working. They don't receive any financial support from the Turkish state. Her father found a job, but even with the money Aras earns, they can still only barely make ends meet.
We have to send her to work. We don't have any other choice. Every morning she cries and tells me, "I want to go to school." It's heartbreaking. I know she is too young to work, and many people would not offer her a job because she's still a child. But I know the owner of that clothing workshop, and he said he wants to help us.
In Syria, I was the only one working, and it was enough to support my family, even my parents. But here, it's different. Rent, the kids' expenses. I just can't do it all on my own.
I meet Ekrem İmamoğlu, one of Istanbul's district mayors. He admits that child labor is a problem in Turkey, one that has grown with the arrival of the Syrian refugees.
Our options are limited. Do we try to get these children into our schools? Give them books and pens and school bags? Of course we do. But we don't always reach all of them. It's often the case that more help is needed than we are able to give.
That's why others are trying to help. In Aras's neighborhood, Syrian teachers are giving classes, even on weekends, for children who otherwise wouldn't be able to attend school. Turkish, Arabic or math, the basics at least. For Aras, these are precious moments, when the sewing machines stop rattling and she can be a child again, if only for a few hours.
A promising development in HIV medication has been making headlines. 1-a-day pills to prevent infection. Known as pre-exposure prophylaxis, the antiviral strategy is relieving fear of AIDS. This report from Berlin tells us more.
Emmanuel is a professional musician. He's gay and HIV negative, and that's how he wants it to stay. That is why he relies on PrEP, an antiviral medicine against HIV infection. It's mostly meant for the high-risk group of sexually active gay men.
Until about 2 years ago, I just used condoms, but there were always risky situations. I started to mistrust condoms. Then I heard about PrEP, and it really sounded like a savior.
People used to pay up to 800 euros a month or semi-legally order a cheaper generic version from abroad. But recent efforts by a Cologne pharmacist drastically lowered the price to 50 euros a month. Today, over 60 pharmacies in Germany offer the medicine. Claudia Neuhaus' store was one of the first in Berlin.
The demand has been very high since October. We've had 200 to 230 patients here, just in this pharmacy.
For Emmanuel, PrEP is already a success. It finally means freedom from the once life-threatening HIV.